In today's episode, we have three unbelievable true stories. A boyfriend who discovers his girlfriend's affair thanks to an unlikely Wi-Fi clue, a wife who faces the heartbreak of her husband's betrayal while coming to terms with her own mistakes, and a groom-to-be who uncovers his fiance's gold digger scheme and turns the tables in spectacular fashion. Each story is more intense than the last, and along the way, we'll pause to reflect on the lessons we can learn about love, trust, and honesty. Grab some popcorn, let's dive in. Our first story comes from a 26-year-old man whose gut feeling about his 24-year-old girlfriend proved to be true, all because of a Wi-Fi network. They had been dating a little over a year, and things were getting serious enough that they were even discussing moving in together. One night, the couple made plans to celebrate their future. The boyfriend's best friend, let's call him Jake, invited them over to his house for drinks to toast the move in decision. They'd hang out at Jake's place and then head out to a bar together. It sounded like a fun plan among good friends. When they arrived at Jake's house, the girlfriend immediately said she needed to use the bathroom. She hurried inside while the two men waited out front for the Uber. In her rush, she left her phone and purse on Jake's living room table. A moment later, her phone buzzed with a notification. She called out from the bathroom, asking her boyfriend to check if it was her friend messaging about joining them for drinks. Being a helpful boyfriend, he picked up her phone to take a look, and that's when something strange caught his eye. The phone screen lit up, and he noticed it was already connected to a Wi-Fi network, Jake's Wi-Fi network. This immediately struck him as odd. Jake's home Wi-Fi is password protected, and to his knowledge, his girlfriend had never been over to Jake's house before. Why on earth would her phone recognize and automatically connect to Jake's Wi-Fi? In that moment, his stomach dropped. There had to be an explanation, he hoped. Maybe a coincidence or some nearby public network. He even considered if she dated someone in the neighborhood long ago, but her phone was new and only a few months old. There was virtually no innocent explanation for her phone connecting to this network, unless she'd been there without him knowing. He tried to stay calm through the evening, but that nagging clue was eating at him. A couple days later, unable to bear the doubt, he finally confronted his girlfriend. He gently explained what he'd seen, her phone logging into Jake's Wi-Fi, and how it didn't make sense to him. At first, she went quiet and acted confused, trying to shrug it off. She claimed maybe her phone picked up some random signal or a neighbor's Wi-Fi by coincidence. But her boyfriend wasn't buying it, and his pressing questions eventually made her break. She confessed. A few weeks ago, she had spent the night at Jake's place behind her boyfriend's back. In other words, she admitted that she and Jake had slept together. It wasn't an emotional affair, she insisted. It was purely physical, just for fun, she said, as if that made it better. Hearing this, the boyfriend was absolutely crushed. Not only had his girlfriend betrayed him, but his best friend, the person he trusted like a brother, had been a part of it. The double betrayal cut deep. He walked away from both of them, breaking off the relationship and ending his friendship with Jake. In the days that followed, he was in a daze, trying to process how his girlfriend and closest friend could do something so hurtful. As he later shared online, discovering his girlfriend's infidelity was bad enough, but the pain of his best friend's treachery hurt even more. After all, who ever expects their best friend to stab them in the back like that? This story blew up online because of how a tiny detail, a Wi-Fi connection, exposed a huge betrayal. It's heartbreaking, but I believe our guy did the right thing by cutting ties immediately. No one should stay with a partner who cheats, and a best friend who sleeps with your girlfriend isn't a friend at all. In a way, he was lucky to discover the truth before moving in with her or making an even bigger commitment. It saved him from a relationship built on lies. The lesson here? Trust your gut and pay attention to red flags, even small ones. And remember, true friends and partners won't make you feel the need to play detective. They'll value your trust instead of destroying it. If you're enjoying these stories so far, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. All right, on to the next story. Our second story is a deeply emotional look at a marriage that fell apart. And the twist here is that the wife telling the story ultimately admits she is partly to blame for the heartbreak. Imagine being married for 12 years with 2 young kids and thinking you and your husband have been through it all. Career changes, personal losses, ups and downs, only to realize too late that your husband has found comfort in the arms of another woman. That's what happened to one 35-year-old woman, and her story is a painful eye-opener. Let's set the stage. She and her husband, he's 37, married young and built a family together. A few years into the marriage, she decided to advance her career, and her husband supported her 100%. In fact, he went so far as to sell his small business and become a stay-at-home dad to their kids so that she could focus on her job. His sacrifice paid off financially, they paid off their house, and she climbed the ranks in a male-dominated field, which wasn't easy. But while she was pouring everything into work, she didn't realize she'd stop pouring into her marriage. Over the years, the pressure and personal tragedies mounted. She lost both of her parents within a short time. Her husband lost his mother as well. They were both grieving, but they handled it differently. She is an extrovert and found support by venting to friends and staying out of the house to distract herself, whereas her husband, more introverted, felt increasingly isolated and depressed. With her long hours and exhaustion, she began to neglect him without fully realizing it. Intimacy grew infrequent. She often shut him out emotionally. Worse, she started taking out her stress on him in bursts of frustration. There were moments she would criticize or belittle him, even though he was doing the hard work of caring for the kids and home. In her mind, she was carrying the weight of the job and finances, but in reality, he was carrying so much too. Things hit a breaking point on their youngest child's 5th birthday. The wife had an important meeting at work that day and chose to attend it even though it made her late to her child's birthday celebration. Her husband was hurt that she missed the special family moment, and that night, all the built-up resentment between them exploded into a huge argument. He told her that she needed to deal with her unresolved grief and come back to her family emotionally. She, overwhelmed and defensive, yelled back and said some very hurtful things. In the heat of the moment, she even told him he needed to man up, since she was the one earning the money now. Man up. Hearing those words from the woman he loved, effectively dismissing everything he'd done for the family, was devastating to him. He stormed out of the house in anger and pain, slamming the door behind him. That night, he didn't come back. What the wife didn't know, but would soon learn, is that in his hurt and loneliness, her husband went to see a female friend, a single mom they knew from their kids' school. We'll call her S. S had lent him an ear in the past, and that night one thing led to another. He slept with S, betraying his marriage vows. It was an impulsive, emotionally charged mistake. He was seeking comfort after feeling unloved for so long. The next day, the husband did return home. He and his wife apologized to each other for the awful fight, and for a brief moment it seemed like maybe they could patch things up. They even were intimate for the first time in months and told each other, "I love you." But the damage under the surface hadn't really healed. Over the next few weeks, the wife noticed her husband growing distant and cold. Only then did she sense that something was seriously wrong. In early January, just a few days into the new year, he dropped a bombshell on her. He handed her divorce papers, out of the blue. She was blindsided. When she asked him why he was giving up on their marriage, he laid it all out. He told her that the woman he married was gone. Over the years, she had changed into someone who didn't seem to care about him at all. He listed the painful truths. She never had time for him. She pushed him away, she made him feel small and unwanted, and he was tired of being treated like a doormat in his own home. He said he wasn't even sure she loved him anymore, given how badly she made him feel. He confessed that he had found someone who did make him feel heard and valued, S, the other woman, and that in a moment of weakness, he had slept with her. He admitted he and S had developed feelings for each other. Though he apologized for cheating, he also firmly told his wife, "I have a right to pursue my own happiness, and I can't find it here with you." With that, he said he wanted a divorce so they could both be happier apart. The wife was in shock. At first, she reacted like anyone would, with anger, betrayal, and grief. Her husband had broken their vows, And now he was ready to leave her, and even possibly start a new relationship with S. She begged him to reconsider. She promised she'd change her ways, go to couples therapy, even quit her job if that's what it took to fix their marriage. In that moment, she truly realized how much she still loved him and how badly she had been treating him. But her husband simply shook his head. He was done. His heart had been broken too many times by her neglect and harsh words. He told her he would be moving out and that she could keep the house. As much as it hurt them both, he felt divorce was the only path forward. In the weeks that followed, this heartbroken wife had to do some serious soul searching. At first, she wanted to hate her husband for the affair. But in her soul, she knew that his cheating didn't come out of nowhere. It happened after years of him feeling unloved and after she had effectively abandoned the relationship. Eventually, she reached a painful moment of clarity. She said, "Had I been a better wife and partner to him, this might never have happened." It's not that she excused the infidelity. Cheating is still a betrayal, but she understood that her own behavior pushed him to a breaking point. In an online post, she wrote, "I don't blame him for anything, not even for committing adultery. I drove him to that point. I destroyed him." Those are her words. It's a brutally honest confession that she had taken a good man for granted until he couldn't take it anymore. The divorce went forward amicably. They sat down and had a heartfelt talk where both of them cried and apologized for how they each hurt the other. They agreed to split peacefully for the sake of their children. He even offered her forgiveness for the past, and she, in turn, forgave him for the affair. In the end, he kept his word. He moved out and allowed her to keep the house, and because he had been the primary caregiver for the kids, while she was often absent with work, he obtained primary custody with the understanding that they'd co-parent civilly. She is now attending therapy to work through her grief and to become a better person for her kids and any future relationships. As for the husband, he did start seeing S after the divorce, and the wife truly wishes him well. Even though it breaks her heart, she acknowledges that he deserves to feel loved and appreciated, something he hadn't felt with her for a long time. This story is heavy because it shows how complicated relationships can be. Here, we have a husband who did something wrong. Cheating is never a healthy or right choice. But we also see clearly how he was driven to despair by years of neglect and emotional abuse. Both partners made mistakes that led to a tragic outcome. The big takeaway from this is that love and marriage absolutely require mutual respect, communication, and appreciation. You can't just neglect your partner and expect them to hold on forever without any affection or support. Even the most loyal heart has its breaking point. If the wife had recognized the warning signs of her husband's pain earlier, maybe counseling or serious changes could have saved them before it was too late. Unfortunately, sometimes people realize what they had only once they've lost it. I have to give the wife credit for owning up to her mistakes in hindsight. That level of accountability is rare. And I truly hope both of them find healing. For all of us, it's a lesson to never take a good partner for granted. Cheating is not justified, but it often doesn't happen in a vacuum. It can be a symptom of deeper issues that were ignored. If you're in a relationship and feeling distance or resentment growing, don't just push your partner away. That's exactly when you need to communicate or seek help. In the end, everyone deserves to feel loved, valued, and heard by the person they're with. Now, on to our final story if you thought these last ones were intense. This next story involves a deceitful plan that could be straight out of a movie and a bit of satisfying revenge. Our last story today might be the most shocking of all. It's about a man who discovered that his bride-to-be was hiding a nasty secret. She never truly loved him at all. In fact, she was only marrying him for his money, and she had a plan to dump him immediately after the wedding and run off with half of his assets. Little did she know, however, that this groom had a surprise of his own up his sleeve. The man in this story was in his early 30s, a successful professional who had been dating a 28-year-old woman for a couple of years. He was deeply in love and thought he'd found his life partner. After a romantic proposal, They were in the midst of planning what was supposed to be a fairy tale wedding. His fiancée seemed enthusiastic and loving, and he felt lucky, until a few weeks before the wedding when he stumbled upon something that stopped him cold. One night, the groom came home earlier than usual, only to overhear his fiancée laughing on the phone with a close friend. He wasn't trying to eavesdrop initially, but he caught his own name and paused when he realized they were talking about the wedding. That's when he heard his fiancée say, with a cruel little chuckle, that he was just a temporary husband and that she couldn't wait to marry him, and then, quote, "Get that bread and leave." His heart pounded as he kept listening in secret. She went on to joke that he was clueless, and that as soon as the wedding was over and the marriage paperwork was in place, she planned to make it to the finish line, her words, then quietly file for divorce and cash out. She even bragged about how she'd get a huge payday from the divorce settlement because, as his wife, she'd be entitled to half of everything. The two women on the call cackled at the prospect, essentially treating the wedding like a business transaction where the groom was the sucker. Imagine standing there, hearing the person you love casually refer to you as nothing more than a stepping stone to a payout. He felt sick to his stomach. She was literally planning to use him, betray him, and discard him, all while wearing a pretty white dress and pretending to vow eternal love. The groom quietly left the room, shaken and furious, but he did not confront her then and there. No. Instead, he decided to play it smart and act like he hadn't heard a thing. If she wanted to play this game, he would let her think she'd won. But he was about to turn the tables big time. Over the next few days, he consulted an attorney very discreetly. With the wedding so close, he devised a plan to protect himself. He realized that, in all the excitement, they had never signed a prenuptial agreement. In hindsight, he had trusted her completely and didn't think it was necessary. Now, he knew better. So he approached his fiancée and, in a very casual tone, brought up the idea of signing a prenup, just as a formality, nothing to worry about. She was startled at first. A prenup? This late? But he reassured her it was only to protect a few of his pre-marriage assets, and that it wouldn't affect how they shared things once married. He played it off as, "Oh, my lawyer friend says we should just have this paperwork, it's no big deal." His acting must have been convincing, because eventually she agreed to sign the documents. After all, she likely thought, "Sure, I'll sign your little prenup, but I'll still get mine." Little did she know, this prenup had teeth. He made sure it had an airtight clause that in the event of a divorce, each party keeps only what they brought into the marriage, meaning she'd get nothing of his money if she left him. Additionally, with some clever legal help, the agreement specified that if the marriage lasted less than a year, or if infidelity or malicious intent to divorce for profit could be shown, she'd walk away with zilch beyond maybe a token settlement. In short, it was exactly the document needed to thwart her greedy scheme. And she signed it. The trap was set. The wedding day came, and it was beautiful on the surface, at least. The groom acted the part of the blissfully unaware husband-to-be, smiling for photos and saying heartfelt vows, while the bride beamed back at him, likely already counting the dollars in her head. As far as she knew, her plan was on track. They were married, she had won, or so she thought. Fast forward a short time after the wedding, just a matter of days. The new wife, true to her plan, very subtly began inquiring about finances and making remarks about what she might do if anything ever happened to the marriage. Perhaps she was testing the waters to start her exit strategy. In response, the husband finally dropped the act. He revealed to her, with a calm smile, that he knew about her little post-wedding plot. You can imagine her face at that moment. Complete shock, draining of color. Before she could deny it, he pulled out a copy of the prenup she had signed and pointed to the sections that ensured she would not be getting half of anything. Not now, not ever. In that instant, all her dreams of a quick divorce payday went up in smoke. She was caught red-handed in her deceit and essentially checkmated. The aftermath was explosive. The bride-turned-wife burst into a rage, I'm sure, yelling, crying, trying to claim it was all a misunderstanding or accuse him of tricking her. But the evidence was there, and the husband had absolutely zero interest in staying married to a woman who saw him as an ATM. Depending on the version of the story, some say he filed for an annulment or divorce immediately, citing fraud. Others say he simply kicked her out and let her initiate the divorce, only to find she gets nothing thanks to that prenup. Either way, she did not get her hands on his money. All she got was the humiliation of being exposed for the gold digger she was, and the loss of a man who, ironically, she could have had a genuine life with if she hadn't been so greedy. The husband, meanwhile, felt a strange sense of relief and vindication. As he later reflected, he was upset that the woman he loved never truly loved him back. But more than anything, he was grateful to have discovered the truth in time. He essentially dodged a bullet, or rather, a gold digger's trap, and protected himself from a catastrophic betrayal.